Hi everyone, welcome to our channel Learn Competitive Programming with CodeChef. If you are interested in competitive programming and want to learn and master data structures and algorithms, then this is a one-stop destination for you. Every week we will post CodeChef problem explanations, conceptual videos on various programming paradigms and also conduct live problem-solving sessions. But before we actually get started, here's a reminder to hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet already. Great. Now that you have subscribed, let's get started. Today we will be solving the problem Bella Ciao, which is a simple problem and belongs to the June Long challenge. Now let us see the problem statement. The problem statement says that chef is planning to hijack a bank for a particular number of days, that is D number of days. Alright. Now he is printing the currency because obviously if he is hijacking a bank, then he wants money, right? So every day P dollars can be printed, but there is a twist that after every D number of days, after every certain interval of days, out of those particular number of days for which the heist goes on, the amount of production of dollars that is there will be increased. So how that increase will happen is that for the first 0 to D days, the amount of dollars that can be printed will be P dollars. Then after D days, it will be P plus Q dollars. After 2D days, it will be P plus 2Q dollars, and so on. And this will go on until and unless those capital D number of days are complete. That is, the hijacking or the heist is complete. So you need to find out at the end the amount of money that will be able to be printed in these D number of days. If the production is somehow like this. So how can you solve this question? So first of all, let us take an example and see what does this all mean. So we have taken an example here where we say that the heist must go on for 11 number of days and the intervals after which the production will increase is 3 days. So after every 3 days, the production will keep on increasing. And P and Q are just the number of dollars that can be printed. So P is the basic number of dollars that can be printed, is that $1 per day. And Q represents the amount of increase in the production that will be there. So these are just two other parameters that we need in this question. Now here in this table, you can see according to each day, how much production will be there, right? So for the first 3 days, as we already established, that for the first 3 days, the production will be P dollars. Then for the next 3 days, that is for 4 to 6 days, the production will be as P plus Q dollars. Then it will increase to P plus 2Q dollars for the next 3 days, because here the interval is given as 3 days to us, right? And afterwards, till 9 days, it is very clear how the increment is happening. But at last, we just have 2 days left. So no matter, for the 2 days that are left, again after 9 days, the increment has to happen. And for the next 2 days or 3 days, whatever number of days are left out of these 11 days, so for that, the production will be P plus 3Q dollars. So I hope that from this table, you must be very clear that how this production is incrementing after these D number of intervals. So now we are supposed to find out the total amount of money that the chef will be able to get after this heist. That means after 11 days. So here you can see that if we add all of these together, right? If we add all of these 11 cells that you see here, we add these values, then we will get the total amount that chef will be able to accumulate. But it is not so simple, right? We cannot just use a pen and paper and then calculate values like this, because the values that will be given to you in the question will be very large. If you'll go and see in the constraints, then it is up to 10 to the power 6. So definitely, like if you use a for loop, so I'm sure that the first thing that will come to your mind is to use a for loop to somehow find out these values and then just add them together. But you can have a better approach to this problem. How? Because if you see closely, then you will be able to observe that you can very well form a series out of this entire thing that you see here. How will you form a series? So now you know that for the first D days you have to pay, you have to produce $P, right? And per day $P will be produced. So D into P. This is how much will be the production for the first D days, right? Now let us move on to the next D days. So the next D days, the production will be P plus Q, right? The production is P plus Q. And for how many days the production is? It is for D days, right? It is for 3 days. D is equals to 3 and the production is again for 3 days. Then again next you see that for next 3 days the production is P plus 2Q, right? And again you can write D here because the production is for D number of days. Now we will stop here. Why we will stop here is because now next that you see these two are not exactly 3 number of days. They are less than that, right? It means that you can only use the series to find out your answer up till here. Up till here what it means is that out of the total number of days, how many intervals are we able to form? So we are able to form D divided by D number of intervals. That means 11 divided by 3, which gives us 3. If we take the integer part, we are only interested in the integer part here. So if we take the integer part, it means that it is only giving us 3 intervals. 3 intervals means the first interval in which we are paying, in which we are printing $P, the second interval in which we are printing P plus Q dollars, and the third interval in which we are printing P plus 2Q dollars. So we will be able to find out the total sum only for these 3 intervals. For the last interval that is there, in which we are printing P plus 3Q dollars, we will have to think of something else. Now if you see closely, then you will realize that this is a simple arithmetic progression series. Now, arithmetic progression, I'm sure that you must have studied in school. It is a simple series. What it says is that if we have a series such as A plus D, A plus 2D, up to A plus ND, so there are n terms in a series, then the sum of the series will be this. So this will be the sum of the series, and we can use this sum of the series to find out the solution to our problem. How we can do that is that here you see that if you take the difference between any two terms of the series A plus D minus A, then you will get a difference, right? You will get D here. D is the difference, and this arithmetic progression is based on this difference. So we already have a formula for that what will be the sum of such kind of a series. So for this series, if we just find out the first term of the series, we find out the difference and we find out the number of terms that will be there. So we can use this formula to solve our question. Now let us form this AP series that we have discussed and find out the sum of the series. So here you can see that you can take D as the common term, right? So let us take D as the common term, and now what we are left with? We are left with P plus Q plus P plus 2Q. Now here you can see that there are 3 terms here. Why 3 terms? Because we find out that there were 3 intervals for which we could find out the sum through the series method. And how did we find out that interval? We find out that interval through this D divided by D. So how we are finding out the number of terms? This is our number of terms. So that is why our n will be equals to D, capital D divided by D. That means the number of days for which the heist will go on divided by the interval days, right? So this will be forming our number of terms. Now the second thing that we need is the first term of the series, because A represents the first term of the AP series, right? So here you can see that A is P. So A will be equals to P. Now the last thing that we need is the difference. So what will be the difference here in this AP series? You can simply find out by taking the difference of the any two terms of the series. So here we'll take the difference of P plus Q minus P. So definitely the difference will be Q. So the difference to the series will be Q. So we have found out N, we have found out A, we have found out the difference. Now simply we can use this formula to calculate the total amount that the chef will be able to produce by using this series method. And the total amount will be sum AP equals to, so N divided by 2 into A plus N minus 1 into difference. And in all these terms, you can just substitute this that we have found out here. So this is giving us one part of the answer. Now what about the last part of the answer? Means these two terms, the 10th and 11th day, we are printing P plus 3Q and P plus 3Q dollars. So how are we going to find that out and include it in our mathematical solution? So let us see that. So for 9 days, we have already calculated the sum. Why? Because capital D divided by small d was equals to 11 divided by 3 equals to 3 if we take only the integer part. That means for 3 intervals we have covered the sum. And in each of these 3 intervals, how many days were there? 3 into d days, right? So 3 into 3 is equals to 9. That means for 9 days we are covering the sum. But now we are left with certain extra days, that is the 10th and 11th day. So how do we find out that how many extra days are there? So that we can simply do by finding out d modulus d. That means if we take the remainder of this expression 11 divided by 3, then we will be able to find out the extra number of days, the fourth interval, right? So in the fourth interval, we have 11 modulus 3 will give us 2. So you see that we have 2 extra days. We can find out through this expression. So let us name this expression as remainder, which will be d modulus small d. Alright. Now in these 2 days, we know that how much amount of money will be produced. So we know that P dollars will be produced, right? Plus Q will be there. Now we don't know that how many number of Q dollars will be there. This thing we have to find out. So here we can see 3 written here, right? And from where is this 3 coming? This 3 is coming by the number of intervals that are there, right? So we already calculated for the 3 intervals. So here we had 0 Qs, here we had 1 Q, and here we had 2 Q, right? It is starting from 0. So that is why in the fourth interval we have 3Q. So how do we find out that interval? We find that interval out through this expression, capital D divided by D, right? So if we just write P plus capital D divided by D into Q, then this will give us the amount of money that will be produced in 1 day. Now for how many days it has to be done? It has to be done for D modulus D number of days. So this is our expression that we will need to find out the sum for the extra days. And if we try to put these values here, because these values we will anyway define in our answer, so we can directly use these values instead of writing the entire expression like this. So if we do that, then our expression will come out to be, we have replaced D modulus D by remainder here into A by P plus N is this part, D divided by D into difference, which is Q. So this will be our final expression that will be there for the additional sum that we need to calculate. Now what will be the final answer? So the final answer will be the sum of AP plus the additional sum. So this first part that you see is the sum of AP, and you can see that we have multiplied this sum of AP by D. We have multiplied this by D because this D was a part of our AP that we had formed back then. So that is why we need to use this as well, and this will be the sum of AP that we have calculated, plus this will be the additional sum that we have already discussed. And you can see a change of names here like N, A, difference and everything, because these terms that you see here we will define in our solution. So we will be using them to form our answer. So that's it guys, this was the solution to our problem. Now let us discuss the input, output and constraints. So as usual, the first line of input will be T number of test cases, and then we will have our elements that we need, capital D, small d, P and Q. And in the output, it is just a single line which consists of the amount that will be there at the end of the heist. And now, as I was talking about the constraints earlier, that they are pretty high, so you cannot use a for loop in this question because it will not be the correct approach and it may also not give you the correct answer. So that is why here you can see the constraints are quite large, 10 to the power 5, 10 to the power 6. Also, if you use a for loop, then your time complexity will go high. But here, the approach that we are using, the time complexity will be order of 1. Why order of 1? Because we are just forming a mathematical expression, right? We are not using any kind of loop here. So that is why the time complexity will be order of 1 here, which is the best time complexity for this question. Now, did you know that CodeChef also conducts classes on Unacademy where we teach everything related to competitive programming? So definitely you can go out on the Unacademy app and check it out. There are a lot of free courses for you to learn, and also there is a plus subscription that you can take, and yeah, you can take one step forward to competitive programming by doing that. Now guys, the code will be very simple because it is just all a mathematical expression formation that we are doing in this question, right? So first of all, we are taking input for the number of test cases, then a while loop, and inside that you see a function solve, which consists the logic for our problem. Now inside solve, you can see that I have defined all the variables that we will be needing for taking the input, and the answer will be containing our entire sum that we'll be forming, that is the sum of AP and the additional sum. Alright, and you can see that I have taken long here, long int. So if you will just take int, then your answer might not work, because here the limit that you saw, the constraints that you saw, they were up to 10 to the power 6, and the sum that will be formed will be quite large. So it will not be able to be contained in a data type such as integer. So I suggest that you take long here, right? Now I have defined all these terms that I was talking about. So the first term, that is A, N is the number of terms, difference is Q, and the remainder. Now we are forming the AP sum and the remainder sum, or you can say the additional sum that I was talking about. So AP sum, we have already discussed the formula. So after discussing the formula, I am sure that you will be able to understand what I have written here. So this is just a way of writing the formula in C++ or in any programming languages for that matter. And for the remainder sum as well, we have written the formula. Now if we just add them together, we will get our answer. And we just have to print our answer, and after every test case, we have to leave a line and then print our answer. So for that, we are using an escape sequence here, that is \n, which is used to go to the next line. So guys, that's it. This was our problem, and I hope that you have understood the solution. But if not, then definitely you can post all your doubts in the comment section. Also, if you have used any other approach to solve this question, because there can be other approaches for this problem, so definitely post them in the comment section so that others can also benefit out of it, and there may be a better approach to do this question, so everybody will be able to understand that as well.